8 warning signs that appear before a stroke. Did you know there are signs that can indicate an impending stroke? In this video, I'll explain this and how to prevent it, which situations increase your risk of having a stroke, what to do about it, and how to recognize these risk factors. Stroke can be classified as hemorrhagic, where brain bleeding cuts off blood supply to a region, or ischemic, where blood flow is interrupted by an obstruction, such as excessive fat blocking blood flow or a vessel occlusion, or a blood clot preventing blood from reaching the area. Ischemic stroke, the most common type, accounts for 80 to 85% of cases. The other type is hemorrhagic stroke, caused by bleeding, occurring about 15% of the time. What are the signs and symptoms that might precede these situations? Well, the first and most important sign is significantly elevated blood pressure. This pressure increase can happen weeks before or even in the early stages. I mentioned I'd discuss two aspects: identification and early stages. High blood pressure damages blood vessels. If you have a condition that increases bleeding risk, high blood pressure can act as a trigger. Also, with fat deposits, high BP damages inner vessel walls, speeding up fat buildup and blockage. So for both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes, high blood pressure is a major risk factor and often a warning sign. Those with chronic high blood pressure need to act, as it damages blood vessels even without symptoms. As an endocrinologist, I treat these risk factors and explain them to patients. And you know what comment I often hear? Oh, this pressure is normal for me because I don't feel anything. When it's lower, I have symptoms. But that's a big myth. Even if you feel fine, high blood pressure is damaging your blood vessels. I'll discuss numbers and prevention later, but let's focus on this first sign. The second sign, often mentioned by stroke survivors, is a headache. It can occur in both situations. When blood flow is interrupted in an area, it can cause a headache. And here's a key feature: an atypical headache. It's different from the usual pains you experience. It's either progressive or comes on suddenly. With sudden pain, you might experience blindness or reduced blood flow. So, if your headache is unusual or new, always get it checked. There's also the possibility of a mini stroke, though that term isn't quite right. I'm using it so everyone can understand. It's actually called a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. What's that? It's when blood flow is briefly interrupted, but your body fixes it within 24 hours, often much quicker. It's crucial to pay attention to these signs and symptoms, because this type of event, in 20% of cases, within 30 days, can lead to a stroke, causing a more severe interruption of blood flow, resulting in various symptoms. So be alert from the start, okay? If you have an unusual headache, seek help promptly for timely tests to prevent a stroke with lasting effects. Remember, strokes have a high mortality rate and must be prevented. The third sign of a potential stroke is numbness on one side of the body, which can also indicate a transient ischemic attack. Why does it affect just one side of the body? This numbness can manifest as a loss of strength or sensation. Loss of strength is called paresis, while loss of sensation is paresthesia. It might feel like a tingling sensation, for instance. But why always on one side of the body? It's because the blockage affects blood flow to one brain area, impacting the opposite side of the body. For example, a left side brain issue affects the right side of the body. It's the reverse of the brain's location. So if the affected brain area is on the right, it'll impact the left side of your body. Got it? Also, there's no fixed rule here. People may feel numbness on one side or just in an arm or leg. So there's no specific rule, as it depends on the exact location where this change is occurring. Even if it's temporary, you saw many will have transient symptoms, improve fully, the body resolves it, but soon after they have a stroke, okay? This is a maximum alert signal. You must seek emergency care to find out what's happening, okay? When I mention these signs and symptoms of a suspected stroke, don't schedule an appointment. Go to the ER, okay? Because this needs immediate attention as soon as possible. Often, people book appointments for months later, by which time complications may occur. The fourth sign, also interesting, is difficulty speaking or understanding what's being said, a language alteration. Many people struggle with speech but can still express themselves, which often goes unnoticed. There's a specific brain area that controls language, and when affected, others may not understand what's being said. If you're talking to someone and notice they're acting differently, they can't understand or they're giving unrelated responses, you might be conversing normally, then suddenly realize they can't comprehend. Their responses don't match the conversation topic. That should raise a red flag. We call this aphasia, a medical term for those who can't express themselves or speak. Number 5, also common, is a balance disorder. Why? An occlusion can occur in the brain region that controls balance. This leads to changes in walking and gait. In my years working in emergency care, companions would say, "He seems drunk, like he's had alcohol, walking as if intoxicated, but I'm sure he hasn't had anything." And indeed, the person has an altered gait. If this is happening, it's also a medical emergency. Sign number 6, which often precedes a stroke, is excessive fatigue. You feel more tired than usual. Many stroke survivors reported this when asked about their symptoms. You are feeling much more tired and unwell. Weakness and fatigue have many causes, but we must rule out brain obstruction. These signs can occur with other conditions or substances due to various situations. However, given its serious nature, always consider the possibility of a stroke to investigate and treat it in time. Number 7 is a change in motor coordination. Many with brain obstruction struggle with simple movements. To make hand movements, like doing activities, using a computer, or washing dishes. Who likes washing dishes? I don't much, but those who do will face an extra challenge. It's not always an extreme case. When I mention stroke signs, many think it means total body paralysis. Remember I talked about changes in strength? You won't always be completely paralyzed. Often it's just a slight change in strength. You'll notice when comparing one limb to another. Sometimes it's subtle, but still very important, so it's a change in coordination. Not total lack of coordination, just a pattern change. You're having more difficulty than usual. The 8th sign is visual changes. It could be blurred or double vision. Any visual change requires medical evaluation, especially if it happens suddenly. You should be very alert and seek emergency care. Vision changes have various causes. As I mentioned earlier, even diabetes and high blood sugar can affect vision, but it's a red flag, as it could be serious and irreversible if not treated early. That's why it's crucial to pay attention to these signs and symptoms. Now, how can we prevent it? How do we avoid reaching this stage? I'll give you 9 quick tips to prevent a stroke. The first and most important is to reduce salt and sodium intake. Studies show this can lower stroke risk by 40%. See how important this tip is? What's the average consumption? In most countries, salt intake is about 10 to 11 grams daily. What's the recommended intake by the World Health Organization? Up to 5 grams. Many countries consume more than twice the recommended amount. I know some videos say you need sodium and salt, but excess causes fluid retention, and this increase in blood volume, as it's medically termed, can worsen the situation long term, potentially raising blood pressure levels. Your body can handle one day of saltier foods, but consistently eating double the healthy amount daily is problematic. So be careful, check the labels. Aim for 5g of salt or 2g of sodium, which is easier to spot on labels. People are consuming more than double this amount. Remember, 5g salt or 2g sodium. The second stroke prevention method is blood sugar control. High blood sugar damages blood vessels over time. This damage leads to cholesterol buildup in arteries. This results in atherosclerosis, a serious problem. Diabetics face higher stroke risk due to vessel damage. Many don't link high sugar to stroke risk. Now you understand the connection. This explanation deserves a like, doesn't it? If you haven't liked it yet, I'm aiming for 10,000 likes. This way, YouTube sees the video as relevant and shares it more widely, and that's something we can prevent. You saw that just the first tip can reduce stroke risk by 40%. See how important that is. Now let's move on to number 3. The third way to prevent a stroke is to not smoke. You knew that one, right? I won't even elaborate. Cigarettes, e-cigs, roll-ups, cigars, all increase cardiovascular disease risk, like strokes. Number 4, manage your cholesterol. Many videos claim cholesterol isn't harmful. And yes, that's true. We need cholesterol to live, to form cells, cell membranes, and to produce hormones like testosterone and cortisol, which are vital for our lives, as well as vitamin D, digestion, and bile salts. So cholesterol is actually very beneficial for our lives. Excess cholesterol is a risk factor. This has been well studied. When I say excess cholesterol, I mean LDL, the bad cholesterol. This cholesterol doesn't have a fixed value. It depends on each person's risk factors. For some, an LDL of 130 might be good if they have no risk factors, like a 30-year-old athlete who doesn't smoke, with normal BP and blood sugar. A level of 130 would be ideal for them. They'd have no factors causing vessel damage where cholesterol deposits, so we can tolerate higher values in these cases. That's the key. Now, take someone with diabetes, high BP, who smokes and is inactive. They have many risk factors for cholesterol buildup. We need to aim for lower values to prevent blood vessel buildup. Is that clear now? For some people, 70 might be a good target. For those who've had a heart attack, we aim for under 55. It depends on the risk classification. It's crucial to remember there's also good cholesterol, known as HDL. For good cholesterol, we want levels above 40, as HDL can clean blood vessels. Triglycerides, another type of fat, are also important to monitor. Levels below 150 are considered good for your overall health. When discussing blood fats, cholesterol is often mentioned. There's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol to consider. Triglycerides are also a risk factor. We aim for levels below 150. So be mindful of your cholesterol levels. Don't buy into claims that cholesterol is harmless. Studies prove otherwise. High cholesterol links to heart issues like stroke. The fifth method is through regular physical activity. Regular exercise, at least 150 minutes weekly, is great for heart health and reducing stroke risk by improving circulation and metabolism. Number 6 is weight control. We know that fat tissue is active and produces substances. These substances often contribute to increased inflammation in your body. There's talk of inflammation and anti-inflammatory foods, but reducing fat tissue can often improve inflammatory markers. Tip number 6 to prevent stroke is through physical activity, at least 150 minutes per week, spread over 3 or more days. For example, 50 minutes thrice weekly, or 30 minutes 5 times a week. Choose the exercise you enjoy most. Don't limit yourself to one type of physical activity, as it's great for heart health and circulation. It can be running, gym workouts, weight training, or swimming. Remember, running can also be done on a treadmill. And tip number 7 is about sleep. I want to highlight a specific condition that can affect your metabolism and worsen diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure: obstructive sleep apnea. What is it? During sleep, your oxygen flow gets interrupted. This leads to a condition called hypoxemia. When oxygen levels drop in your organs, tissues, and brain, it causes various metabolic issues. If you wake up gasping for air, you're actually out of breath. If this happens, you need to investigate and get detailed tests. If people in your house report that you snore a lot, you should also get more tests done. Often, addressing these issues can solve many problems. As a diabetes specialist, I see many patients with high blood sugar levels, so I always investigate this. I always ask about sleep habits. Sometimes patients take diabetes meds but neglect their sleep. They may have a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. It can raise blood sugar and blood pressure levels. Sometimes you're on blood pressure meds, but the real cause is poor sleep. Be careful with sleep, as it also increases your stroke risk. And the increase is quite significant. Number 8 to prevent stroke, manage your blood pressure. Here's a tip. Monitor your blood pressure at home or somewhere other than the hospital or doctor's office. Often your BP rises when you visit the doctor, normal at home, but high at the doctor's, leading to misdiagnosis. They might prescribe unnecessary medication as a result. You end up getting multiple meds for blood pressure when it's really just white coat hypertension. Many people think this is a joke. I'm not kidding when I say this, though. This really happens, and it's a serious issue. Why? If you're not hypertensive and take meds, you could faint. The opposite is also true. Some have high BP outside the office, but it normalizes during checkups. This is called masked hypertension, as they're calmer, lowering their blood pressure. So it's crucial to check your BP outside the office and always record it. Many patients ask, how do I measure it? You can do it at different times, but always write it down. Measurements and heart rate, as these are crucial for the doctor to calculate averages and determine if you're hypertensive and how your blood pressure treatment is progressing towards the therapeutic goal. When discussing blood pressure, we generally aim for 12/8 or 120/80, for example. There's debate about what constitutes high blood pressure, but levels of 140/90 or thereabouts, it doesn't have to be exactly those numbers. If you have readings equal to or higher than 90 or 140, you're also at risk. New protocols, I'll note here, consider 130 as elevated already, but it's not consensus. This threshold might even lower, but focusing on 12/8 is a good strategy. The ninth way to reduce stroke risk is by checking for arrhythmias. Did you know many strokes are caused by heart rhythm problems? A common arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation increases your risk of blood clots, which can travel through your bloodstream and get stuck in your brain, requiring specific treatment. So it's important to get checked. There are simple tests available. An ECG, for instance, can often identify arrhythmias. It's a simple and widely available test. If you feel symptoms like heart palpitations, you should get evaluated. Sometimes there's a type called paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, which occurs in episodes. Your ECG might be normal, but it can show up on a Holter monitor, a 24-hour ECG you wear at home. Often, this is the only way to catch this condition, which needs treatment to reduce clot risk. If you feel heart palpitations, check your heart rate, okay? Treatment is needed to prevent you from having a stroke. This is very important. Now, you'll probably ask about diet. I've given all the tips, but didn't mention food. Some foods can reduce your risk of having a stroke. I've discussed this in a specific video, listing the best and worst foods. Foods that can improve or worsen cholesterol, increasing the bad kind. I talk about this in that video. Watch it, you'll find it helpful. Take care, see you next time.